show leverage. He's done more for this community at no legal cost than you know. I know this is a fact because I've been working on it since the beginning. Perhaps if Mr. Cornott and Mr. Graves and the members in units, $15 units, previous $15 units, want to save us legal costs, they could ask their friend who they're funding to drop her lawsuit. That would save us a lot of money. But in fact, she's done us a favor that we can wrap the litigation against OLC with a strong case, as we can read our own legal documents for ourselves that I'm grateful the board sends out. We can read for ourselves that we have a strong case against the Oceanside Land Company. We don't know the outcome, but there's a good chance we could get every cost that we have spent back. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. And Adeline Thomas has something you want to say from here?
Yes, we have animal lovers in this community, homeowners that own and care for pets, whether they're dogs or cats or birds or whatever other pets you may have. We have to remember, even though you're animal lovers and care for pets, that we have to stop. There are some residents and some homeowners are still putting out food in the common areas and also putting out water in the common area. You know, if a resident walks by with their dog and they put the water out so that they can have something to drink, that's nice. But however, we have to take in mind that when you do things like that, put water out and put food out, that will attract wildlife. And there's an increase of
Population.
Increased population where we have more coyote activity roaming around the community. You know, they're not just walking at nighttime and early in the morning, they're walking in the middle of the day. So please stop putting out water and food for animals in a common area. We ask that. Not only that, we have to abide by government documents. It says that in there not to put out food for pets, for wildlife, because it does attract animals.
Thank you. I'm going to read two now that were sent in to me. First one is from John and Marilyn Noel. We've lived in Oceana Unit 6 for 5 years, and I have not seen the landscape so poorly managed as it is currently. Hedge trimming seems to be hit and miss, with shrubs trimmed in a seemingly random fashion. Along the back of the unit, at the row in front of our home, are shrubs that have not been trimmed for months, many rising above windows. The turf is also in very poor condition with many large brown spots. Watering seems to be done on an erratic basis, with some areas not being watered at all. Hopefully the board and management is addressing these issues. That was from John and Marilyn, and I have one other one from Kim Emmett. I'm not sure what her unit and house is. Hello, my name is Kim Emmett. I am a resident of Oceana and University of California Cooperative Extension Master Gardener of San Diego County. The common names for fire stick include pencil cacti, sticks on fire, or milkbush, and the scientific name Euphorbia tricoli. Fire stick is a poisonous toxic euphorbia, but there are many dangerous toxic plants that, when practicing safe landscaping maintenance and techniques, can be used safely in our landscape design. Deborah Lee Baldwin, California garden expert and author, states, fire stick, along with many other succulent varieties, have drought-tolerant properties, sculptural and external appeal, thrive in poor soil, produce gorgeous flowers, have edible pads or fruit, and get by on rainfall alone. They are security fences and fire breaks. Those that form thickets provide a safe haven for birds and other wildlife. A few plants that are also poisonous, toxic, and dangerous that we currently have planted on our slopes and among the common areas of Oceania are agave, bougainvillea, cactus, cycads, lantana, pyracantha, yuccas, cacti, cola. These are just a few that most people see within our landscape. Again, we enjoy the beauty of these plants by practicing safe landscape design techniques and maintenance. If the fire stick is within a pedestrian walkway, sidewalk, impeding a trail or pathway where it can be brushed against or break off, it can be dangerous. This would also go for any of the above-mentioned plants. In my opinion, as a resident and a gardener, taking our plants that are not within a pedestrian walkway and not posing a danger is not necessary. In addition, it will be costly to remove and replace. In my opinion, more thought should have gone into the landscape design when these plants were first planted. But we can create a plan to move forward that will allow the benefits of this particular plant and other plants so that they can be safe for our community and we can reap the many benefits that they provide. Thank you for the opportunity to address this community concern. Kim Emmett. And that concludes the homeowner comments. Next on the agenda is the financial report from Lynn Lisinski. That is page 9 through 7.
The financial report, excuse me, for June, again, need corrections. As I said, I've seen the July, and those corrections are made there. So by the time we have the July statements through the system and presented to the board next month, we'll be able to approve the first service financial statements. But at this point, we need to table that until next month.
That's it. So we're tabling that. And we have our management report from Vaughn now.
Hello, everyone.
Microphone, mic, please.
We've got one over there.
Hello. I drafted these items that I'm addressing on day 4 of my tenure here. So this list has increased somewhat. Anyway, the urgent items I'm looking at currently are the 2023 audit and tax returns. They have to be finalized. The 2025 reserve study has to be prepared. That's currently in the works. The 2025 budget work needs to begin, and Lynn and I will start that in a couple of weeks. I've got roughly 270 plus work orders in my system that needs to be followed up on. I'm not sure if they're done, completed, closed out. Anyway, that has to be cleaned up. I begin landscape drive-throughs with our landscaper Bob this week, and I will do that weekly, making notes of items that have to be addressed, landscaping-wise or maintenance-wise. I have roughly 30 items on my desk, homeowner requests for reimbursement and other matters that I'm looking into. These involve some history which I have to be brought up on to be current with all these requests. The maintenance crew is short-staffed. We need to begin the hiring process for 3 additional technicians. There are some staffing management issues in the office that need to be addressed. And the review of the community's trees has begun. We need an inventory of all the trees in the community and then a maintenance plan for this year and next. So that's what I've done for the first 4 days. Any questions?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is unfinished business. We have the rental project update from Lisa Baggett. Let's see if she has anything to add to where it was in June.
Right, thank you. Where we are with the rental report is that Sandy Reiser has handed over her findings to us. Thank you, Sandy. Vaughn is going to be looking for the detail that backs up those numbers. so that I can reconcile the reports that homeowners have provided us against a escrow title report, which has been updated for the most current status of homeowners as of the beginning of this week. Once I reconcile those two things against each other, that should greatly reduce the number of homeowners that we need to reach out to get their forms, which have not been handed in. And so the board has offered to divvy up those open homeowner requests and reach out to them and try and get those forms completed by those homeowners without having to take the next step, which is disciplinary. We don't want to be a hostile board, but if we don't have cooperation from the community in providing us the information needed, it's very hard for us to manage the community. So hopefully when we meet next month, I'll have a finalized updated report and we'll be able to know exactly how many rental units we have, owner occupied units, and second homes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Next on unfinished business, the 503 Vista Bella project. Okay, I don't see a summary in here. But I know there's a motion. Yeah, we do have a motion that Alan Marcel put through as the chair of that ad hoc. Other than the motion, are you here, Alan? Yeah, you are here. Is there anything else you wanted to add besides the motion that you want to say? No, okay, we're good then. All right, so the motion that Ellen has made is that the OCA Board of Directors authorize our legal counsel to advise the board about any potential damage from having Oceana declared an historic site through the use of Oceanside Historical Preservation Ordinance. Okay, so I will make that motion. Does anybody want to second it?
Second.
And a little discussion. Let's see, how about starting with Kathleen, do you have anything to?
Well, I do have something to say about this, and that's that I don't know anything about it. And last night, and yesterday, I got online trying to figure out how do we qualify as a historic site, et cetera, et cetera. I almost emailed you, but it was late in the day. So what I would really appreciate is some information on what all this means and what the process is about becoming an historical site or historical neighborhood or an historical district. I wasn't sure what you exactly had in mind there. And I think that for me, I would like to know a lot more what this involves before I was willing to say, open the checkbook to the attorney. I don't want him to have to do our research. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I would like some more information on this. Okay.
Thank you. Lynn, do you have any questions or anything to add?
Well, I would like to understand why. I mean, I understand what's being asked for, but why are we asking for this related to the 503 Vista Bella project? And also, why are we looking at potential damages rather than the pros and cons? I mean, I have had conversations with homeowners about just being on the declared a historic site for reasons other than 503. Need funding issues, things and all kinds, but I don't know what the pros and cons are. So, why are we limiting it to this? I just would like to have more information before making a decision to contact the attorney.
Okay, Kurt, do you have any suggestions or questions?
The property obviously is certainly going to be an eyesore if it does go through. I'm unfamiliar with this type of action being taken in the past and successful. If that has been the case, we'd probably like to look at those previous examples of how it's been used for adjacent properties like ours.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with Lynn and Kathleen that we need more pros and cons. I'm particularly interested in knowing what the cons are for homeowners should their properties be turned into historical sites. That can have severe impacts on saleability and price. So that's what I'm interested in knowing. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Teresa, I'm sorry.
Wait.
Wait just a second.
Put the mic up to the speaker.
Okay, where's the speaker?
Can you make the sound up louder?
I think I have a lot of.
Okay, well, we're gonna try it. Here we go.
Okay, Tess, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I want to thank Ellen for her work on this, and also, I think everybody is asking for more information, so we have a more intelligent decision, and I'd like to table, if I can mention, I'd like to table the motion until we are able to get more information to make an informed vote. And then I was curious about cost for something like this. I think there's merit in doing some research, and I would just ask that more research is done so that we have a more informed decision, and also so residents also would know what's going on to maybe present it to residents in the appropriate format.
Okay, thank you, Teresa.
When this was first brought to my attention, my first thought was cost. Because anytime we communicate with our legal counsel, whether it's via phone, email, it costs us money. And the second thing was historical site. That's very interesting because I've spoken with several residents and homeowners that have been here for quite some time, and they shared with me, that the city of Oceanside considers Oceana a historical event because they said it was one of the very first in this area. Not only that, someone also shared with me that possibly Oceana was one of the very first within the state. And they also shared with me that Jack Benny actually did the ribbon cutting ceremony. So that's historical right there. So just like everyone else, more information so we can make a sound, intelligent decision about this. And once again, Ellen, thank you for doing the work and bringing this to our attention.
I do want to say, Ellen, I think your committee is really doing well to think outside the box. You obviously are looking at everything you can do to stop this project, and I see that. I'm not real familiar with a lot of historic preservation ordinances, so I'm not sure how this would affect our home, how it would affect how we make changes to the outside, so I think I do agree with the board members that we need to dig a little bit before we go ahead and pass this. But I think I love that you continue to think outside the box. It's balloons flying up in the air, it's great. So thank you, and thank you, committee, for all that you're doing on this. So are we going to have a motion then to table this?
We have to vote on we're requesting to table this particular motion.
Right.
I take-
So we're tabling it. Do we still need to vote on the original motion, or we just?
No, because we're
Okay,
tabling, so
Okay.
we're voting to table this motion.
Okay, let's have a motion then to table this till we can get a little bit more research done on it. Do I have a second on that? Teresa's seconding it. And all in favor? Any more discussion? I'm sorry. Okay, Kathleen.
No, this can't be back and forth.
Mike, Mike,
Sorry. I know this can't be back and forth at this point in the board meeting, but maybe Ellen can let us know how she can provide more information to us as well as the community, whether it's an add-on and coffee hour or some other get-together so that everybody that wants to know about this could come and be educated. I mean, think about that, get back to us, and we can go ahead and table it. How long are we tabling it for?
Well, let's table it for 1 month. And they need to make a decision before this 503 goes in. We're kind of on a timeline here, so table it for 1 month. We'll get back to Ellen. Maybe you can set up a time we can all meet together. Okay, so we have a first and a second to table this. All in favor? 1 month?
Aye.
Okay, now we go on to C, the slope behind the gardens. hot topic. Okay, so I think Lynn had a little bit of research as well as Kurt. So do you want to do a little discussion first, or should we make a motion?
I'd like to restate the motion.
Okay. Lynn is going to restate the motion.
I would actually like to amend the motion based on some information I have gathered. I'd like to amend the motion to read approve up to $6,500 for our annual weed abatement on the hill between Unit 14 at the top and the garden area at the bottom. The vendor to be selected by Keystone Properties and the work to be completed within 30 days. The information, here I wrote this down for Evelyn if she wants. Okay. The information that I've gathered, it's difficult with the transition of our records and information to obtain, specific invoices, check copies of checks, etc. But I have been able to collect the documentation showing payments made for this work starting in 2019 and consistently done every 5 years. It was done the first 3 years by LeBron's, who was our management company at the time, and Brightview, the last 2 years, was our landscape company at that time. It was stated that we don't have a legal requirement to do this. A couple of comments on that. One is that the document being referenced to in making that statement is a 2023 document from the city. Prior to that, including this 2019 article by the city, said property owners are responsible for clearing weeds on their properties. City of Oceanside Code Enforcement Division may send notices to owners requiring the removal of overgrown vegetation. If not cleared, you may be fined and citations will increase progressively. The fact that we have not received a citation or a fine indicates that Oceana has been responsible in meeting our need to keep the hills cleared as they should be. Again, and then with respect to the insurance requirements, the statement that was made by our insurance company, and I have received in writing, is as it relates to maintaining the vegetation surrounding the community, we would not recommend reducing your efforts as it relates to slope maintenance, as this could translate negatively in your property insurance carrier. An underwriter reviews maintenance efforts in the community when considering renewal terms, and ceasing maintenance in an area for which the association has historically provided maintenance could raise a red flag. I suggest that we have established this for the last 5 years as something that we do annually, that has been in compliance with the needs of the community, the best interest, of the homeowners that we represent. Those should be our guidelines, not a legal minimum, and that we should listen to our homeowners insurance carrier and not modify what we've been doing in order to assure, our rates and our coverage. And so with that, I have modified the motion as stated.
I'll second that. We don't have a second yet, do we? Kurt, did you want to add to that? Question?
Can you restate your motion? Last motion was not to exceed $7,500. This motion is not to exceed $6,500?
To approve up to $6,500, and I base that on the collective amounts paid. In 21, we paid $3,432. In 20, $2,800. In 21, $6,294. 22, $30,475.
30,000?
$3,475. And in 23, $4,455. So I went with the highest of those. And the scope of work would be spelled out and the quote received by, at the time of getting the vendor. So it would not exceed what we've already paid.
And herein lies the question. There's been multiple areas cleared over the last several years, and what I asked for was originally the scope of work and a map of what area was to be cleared. And we're still at the same point, we don't have a map. We have a number, and it looks like we're just pointing at a number to spend. And I don't see how it correlates to the scope of work or a map of what areas are to be cleared and what is exactly going to be done.
We have consistently cleared the top of the hill, going from the homes in Unit 14 at the top, out horizontally. Is it 100 yards? 100 feet? 100, whatever the measurement is, I think we need to at least do that, find out what the cost of that is and what the recommendation is, if there is more to do. We also need to take a look at the property on the opposite side of the street from the garden club, because we own those two lots and we've never cleared those, and it's our responsibility to clear those. So, you know, we have to look at what we have and what we can, but at least we need to do that top of the hill. We could, if it becomes a considerable question, there are weed abatement specialists who could be called to give a bid on it and specifics, but I think that our past record of what we have done in clearing that top kind of speaks for itself, and we need to be moving forward on this.
Anything else?
I'm just going to state my position again. I'm not against clearing of any brush that needs to be cleared based on what the fire marshal says or what an insurance company says, but the documentation that we are required to clear an area from an insurance company has not been produced. The requirement that we're to clear a specific area from the fire department has not been produced. In my investigation and talking with the fire department is that we are in compliance with the way that the hill is currently. And I'm just looking for the evidence that points differently. I'm not saying that we shouldn't clear an area. I mean, if we want to spend $6,500 and feel better about clearing an area, we certainly can. I'm just coming from a fiduciary perspective that if I was being charged a special assessment because I lived in a fire zone area and I was participating in this, I'd want to know if my money was being well spent.
Thank you, Kurt. Lisa, do you have anything? Do you have anything to add, Evelyn? Okay. The only thing I would like to add. Sorry.
I appreciate Kurt's looking at our budget. I would like to state that just a few years ago, there was a fire on Camp Pendleton, and the people that live in that area we're discussing had the option to evacuate. And because there's has been reported in the news, we have a higher fire risk this fire season. I would suggest that doing the weed abatement, I think it's 100 yards or something from the home. There is that condition. So I do strongly suggest that we look at this or consider the safety factor besides the homeowner's insurance, but we have a safety factor as well to try to prevent the escalation of a fire if one becomes near our area. We do need to make sure that we have provided safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Evelyn, do you have anything to add? Questions?
Actually, please forgive me. My only issue was because we live in the state of California and we do have a fire season. And we should be preventive in anything that we can do to clear this area so it's not a fire hazard. I think we should do it. And also, people are concerned about the cost. I understand that. But we should consider, we should look, we should take preventive methods, And this is actually strongly recommended anyway, not just from the board, not just from the community, but the insurance agency, the fire marshals. And not only that, if people watch the news, before fire season comes up, they always do a news brief about removing any vegetation from the home to prevent any hazard of a fire.
Well,
I have something else to add.
can I?
Sure.
Okay. One thing I wanted to add at the last meeting when we discussed this, it was brought up that Bob with Total Landscape was in charge and said he would do all of the slopes. So I did go back and look at the contract and all of his addendums, and there is a map in there, and the map clearly in yellow highlights shows just the perimeter where the slope is close to a house that he clears down to the V. So it never was put in his contract that he would do that whole slope by that garden. So I did check into that. I feel it's important to keep those homes safe, and at the very least, we need to look at 100 feet of clearing from the homes. Okay, Kurt, you had something else?
The 100 feet of clearing, and I've also heard 1,000 or 100 yards of clearing are what's called defensible space. Plants cannot, or it's recommended by the fire marshal, that plants do not come in contact with your home. So if they come in contact with your house, you don't have a defensible space. All the houses up on 14 have a defensible space between their home and the natural growing green vegetation, which is a good fire break. The area to be cleared is not, it's not mandated that from the house you skip the green bushes and then you go cut down the dead ones 100 feet down the hill. It's 100 feet leveled, and you don't need to pick up the debris if it's more than 6 inches deep. So there's a lot of different interpretations of what it actually means, and speaking with the fire department, they made it clear that they felt that we have plenty of defensible space should there be a fire, and that the cutting down of the weeds can actually increase the combustibility and the speed at which a fire would move. They wouldn't put that on record for me, but that was part of the conversation. So I'm all for a safe environment, but I just want to make clear we still haven't seen a map for whatever this amount of money that we're going to spend, and the scope of work and the timetable I think we should see before we vote.
Go ahead.
Well, first I want to say thank you.
Hadley.
Microphone. Thank you. I want to say thank you to Kurt for all the work you've put into this. And I think that a lot of the bids and proposals that you have in here from the other companies that were doing it for us or put in the bids, like Brightview and LeBon's here, they could give a pretty good idea of the area that they wanted to cut and did cut. So we do have a pretty good idea of the areas that need to be looked at. And
They cut 2 completely different areas.
Right, and there are several different areas there if you get down to it, but you can break into smaller projects and different times of year when they should be done, like the invasive artichokes really should be done in the spring before they can send up those large flower shoots and spread those seeds that sit on your slope for 5 years and will sprout and just make really evasive, nasty plants. So there's a lot of different ways, but there's also a lot of tools. We had a tree vendor up here last week, and he has a neat tool that he can measure 100 feet from a home, and you measure diagonally. So he can measure with the tool he has on his phone, 100 feet out diagonally is going to look different than 100 feet if you took a tape and went down a slope. But anyway, the bottom line is fire codes don't always keep up. Living here, all of us know that things are getting drier and drier. The last 2 years we kind of lucked out with a lot of water, a lot of rain in the winter. This summer is really hot. There's a lot less moisture in plants. And so what we also know just about fire safety in general is that it's the weeds that really get these fires going now and can wipe out communities in a heartbeat. So I think it's the right thing to do to protect our community.
Is there any other discussion?
Yes, it's about total landscaping creation in their contract. Now, I was not part of the search committee to hire a new vendor for door landscaping, but it was from my understanding, based on the last board, that when we did hire Total Landscaping Creations, that included within his contract in the addendum that he would clear the area, the slope behind near the park, not the parking lot, the dog park in the garden.
This is not the dog park and garden. This is 300 yards up the hill.
Well, as I said, it's not in the contract. I looked it up. It was not specifically saying that, and when he did refer to slopes, there's a map, and the map has little highlighted in yellow areas that he would be clearing the slopes, and that was not circled or included in that map.
I also looked at the map, and when it had highlighted around the entire property of the Oceanside community, it did include that area. When I looked at the contract and the map, the highlighted was that part of the slope, what we're talking about, was included. I do agree with that we should get it taken care of. And I understand the fact that, I'd also understand the fact that the concern is if we add this to TLC's workload, it would pull them away from other areas dealing with landscape. I know that's an issue too.
Right over here.
Can I move that we vote on this motion?
Yes.
Motion
Well,
now?
if everybody's done discussing,
Repeat the motion
Anybody?
one more time?
I'll repeat the motion, and if I can, I'll add some clarification that Kurt's asked for. To approve up to $6,500 for annual weed abatement of the hill between Unit 14 at the top and the garden area at the bottom, to include at least the upper portion of the hill by Unit 14. Vendor to be selected by Keystone Properties and work to be completed within 30 days.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Teresa said, okay, and then how about anybody not in favor, a no? Kurt's a no, and Lisa is abstaining. So that passes.
Thank you.
Okay, new business. We have the July fireside chat. Lisa was the board member of the month, and she's just going to give us a brief synopsis of that.
Yes, hi. We had a fireside chat. 5 people were in attendance. The biggest item of concern was water conservation and the landscaping. They kind of go together. And then the next item that was of high concern was the 503 project monstrosity they want to build. And then that goes next to the lawsuit. There's concern there about the spending of money and the budget. Those were the issues raised up by the homeowners. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is the Code of Conduct, general information. This is a Keystone Pacific Code of Conduct document. So I'm not going to read through the whole thing. I'll probably put people to sleep here. I think what I'm going to do is submit this to the highlights. I think it's important that everybody reads through here. This has to do with the conduct, how we treat management, how we treat the staff. It actually goes beyond that and how we treat each other, but it is part of our contract with Keystone Pacific. They expect us to behave in an appropriate way, using respectful behavior and not using inappropriate language. So I'm not going to read through it all now, but I'm thinking my plan is to put it in the highlights and then people can read it on their own. Okay?
I'm trying to find it.
Okay. The next is the fire stick removal. That was my motion. Okay. I would like to amend my motion thinking about it. And I did hand out to everybody a total landscape sheet here, removing 66. The landscape committee went around, mapped everything. I believe they didn't map it if it was in a pot. They considered that the homeowners. Removing 66 fire sticks throughout the property, digging them up, hauling them away. They would be bringing an extra crew with safety suits and equipment, approximately 3 days for $2,600. He figured $50 on a plant to take it out and to replace it. It wouldn't just be taken out, okay? Now, I am also the liaison for the landscape committee, and this came up actually last year when Brightview was our landscaper and a homeowner wanted it trimmed, the fire stick trimmed, and they refused to trim it. They said they're too dangerous, they're not going to trim it. They'll take it out, but they're not going to trim it. So now we have a new landscaper. Without knowing that Brightview already told us that, he has pretty much said the same thing. He will not, he doesn't want his crew hurt. They will not be trimming them. So whatever we leave in will just be left to grow, okay? And then a week or so ago, a homeowner came into the office and I happened to be there, and he had taken it upon himself to trim some of these plants that are so dangerous with the white milky substance inside. It was a different plant. I don't know if it was part of the family, but it had, and he showed me his arms. They were all full of a rash. He had to go to urgent care, have his eyes flushed out. So I just want you to know that this is pretty serious. The sap produces a toxic white sap. When leaves or stems are cut or broken, the sap can be irritating and toxic to exposed skin or eyes. I got this from the internet. Even in dried form, it can cause rashes, burning, and intense pain. Contact with the eyes can cause severe pain, and in some cases, blindness or temporary blindness for several days. Symptoms may worsen over 12 hours. If you get the sap in your eye, flush your eye with fresh, cool water for at least 15 minutes and repeat after a few minutes. Now, I understand that there's also other plants that are toxic. I don't know if they're as toxic to just touching them or your dog sniffing it when they're on their walks. But, you know, this is the one that has come up, and Landscape Committee felt very strongly about it, so that's why I'm bringing it to the board, okay? I'd like to amend my motion that OCA eliminate fire stick plants from the common areas that are within 10 feet of homes and walkways. Okay, do I have a second on that?
10 feet from a sidewalk
From a sidewalk.
and 10
10
feet from a home.
Yes, so in other words, if it was your foundation planting, it would have to go.
So your home, you've only got 10 by 10 out front.
Right, I have
That
two.
means they would have to go.
I know. I don't want them to go, but I can't make an exception for me.
Well,
But I do see that, I mean, I look at the rock, you know, some of the other places, there's no reason a homeowner should be trimming those. And I would like to say that we should get the word out and educate people, but it's very difficult because some people don't read the highlights, they don't read the e-blast. And to be on the safe side, we don't need a lawsuit regarding something like this. This happened, you know, this man should not have been trimming anything in the common area. He shouldn't have been, you know, but do we want to take that chance? So it wouldn't be 60, what was it? It wouldn't be the full amount, 2,600. We could put down up to 2,600, but for only the plants that are close enough to the walkway that when you're walking your dog and he's sniffing, that he's not going to get that on his nose and then, or lick his paws or something like that. And then also right around, you know, the homes themselves. But in the larger areas, we can appreciate, you know, the beauty of the fire stick plant. So I'm amending my motion to read that. Anybody want to second it? Teresa is seconding it, okay. All right, is there any discussion? Okay, Kathleen.
Okay, well, I'll start with all the people who showed up to defend their fire sticks today. I appreciate that. Everybody gave us charts and let's see, this one's from the California Pet Society that lists all the ones that you do not want your pet to stand on, rub against, eat. And if you want a copy of this list, there's a bunch of them up here. A little education that might help some of us is fire sticks are very colorful, and they're one of the most popular landscape plants being used in San Diego County right now. It's like for the last 10 years they are being pushed, and I think Andrea said and others that, you know, they're fire breaks, they're not going to burn up, they're going to protect the property versus something like a bottle brush or something with a lot of sap in it. So they're very popular. What's important to know about them is they belong to a family called Euphorbia. And within this big family of Euphorbia, which is also known as spurges, some people that might ring a bell for, all of these have that white milky sap. And some are going to be more caustic to your skin and your eyes than other, but they all pretty much have the same white sticky sap. And they all should be approached and they should all be taken care of the same way, whether you're a gardener, landscaper, homeowner, or just somebody trying to help out. And that's, you know, good shoes, good pants, long sleeve shirt. I use these every time I do any gardening at all, and if I don't, I get a rash because there's more than just one or two toxic plants out there. And then you need a hat, and it's nice if you wear glasses because that protects you from, you're going to think twice about touching your eyes. So, this man that Roxanne talks about that came into the office that had this awful exposure with a white, toxic, milky sap, he was exposed to Euphorbia, same class of drugs called Rigida. And I went on a hunt 2 days ago to find out, okay, where is this in Oceana? And it is pretty prevalent along the slope. If you go down A Street, you'll find a lot of it. And you can look it up too. You just have to look up Euphorbia rigid with an A on the end. That is what I think he got into. And then that particular plant, if you go down to the garden where the maintenance yard is, that whole hillside, if you look up there to the development, this unit 2, I think, that's right up there, maybe it's unit 4, that whole hillside is covered with those. The whole hillside. And they don't look like much now, but in the spring they get another 4 inches of flower, yellow flower on them, and they're absolutely beautiful. These are going to be as toxic as those. So you just can't say one's more toxic than the other, or we need to remove all the oleanders because they're the most toxic. And I think that if we, it's a slippery slope. I think if we get into this position where we decide who's going to be the plant police, and they're going to come and take plants that maybe you put in, or for myself, I put plants in Adopt a Spot, and I had approval to put fire sticks in. I've put fire sticks in other projects in the community that I was given permission for. And when I think about it, 1 or 2 of those might be 10 feet from the street. And I just don't think that, well, I give the homeowner a little more credit If we give education, we don't need to eradicate. And
Lynn, do you want to say anything?
I want to say that I agree 100% with Kathleen, and it doesn't set well that we continue to make suggestions on that decisions be based for the entire community, be based on whether or not an individual homeowner will or will not follow the rules. I'm not able to enjoy certain things because we might get sued. If this gentleman who came into the office and showed that he was affected by these because he took it on himself to cut the plant, chose to sue us, our backup is that that violates all of the rules and regulations he has agreed to as a homeowner. And if we make every decision based on the fear that we might get sued, rather than the firm standing of our rules and regulations, our governing documents, there's no point even having a board. So I really think we stand firm on what we have in place. We stand firm on believing in our homeowners, their intelligence, their ability to be educated and follow common sense. And we not take on the deep pit of starting to remove plants that may be or may not be poisonous.
Lynn, Kurt, do you want to add anything or questions?
I love fire sticks. I love them. They're the most beautiful succulent that there is. There's just no question about it. I've busted them up and put them in pots thousands of times because they propagate so easy. I remember back when I was about 8 and they were planting the medians in LA. All the medians were getting new plants. Anybody remember what they were?
Oleanders.
Yes, oleanders. And I'll never forget this cartoon of an advocate to say, hey, they're beautiful, they're going to be easy to trim, we've got these trucks that are just going to go by and just buzz them off straight, it's going to be a big wall so people won't have the headlights in their eyes. And it was a cartoon, this guy getting in an accident, the whole family is like screaming, ah, and they get their mouths full of oleander and die. And that was like, we can't plant oleanders in the median because if somebody gets in a car accident, they're going to be overcome with the sap and they could die. But the benefit outweighs the risk. We get so good at talking all about the boogeyman here. And this is another, I just don't know why. There's some places where it's too close to the walkway. We should move them, or we should relocate them, or we should cut them down. But I don't think we should go on a hunting expedition for the defenseless fire stick.
Lisa, did you have anything to say? Okay, Evelyn? Teresa, I'm sorry, Teresa?
Okay, I can appreciate everything everybody said. However, because being a former dog owner, that when there was an issue with a dog, which I think got something from the lantana, I know there was the issue with the dog's health. When that happened, the lantana was trimmed back so that the dogs weren't close enough to have access to it and just sniffing and marking. So the lantana was trimmed, and it did allow the lantana being trimmed to grow beautiful and be away from the sidewalk. So I'm going to suggest that because there is a need to remove it, I believe, certain number of feet away from the sidewalk where the dogs might sniff or scratch against it, that we either have the landscape committee or TLC working with Keystone. It might be Keystone being the head of it to make sure that the walkways that have the fire stick close to it, I don't know if 5 or 10 feet is the best number, but that there are probably a few areas we should consider removing the fire stick or pruning it back. areas with other poisonous plants, someone mentioned about being a fire break. If they're on hills, the chances are our residents hiking up that hill and getting exposure to it is probably rare. So I would strongly suggest that we look at the areas that we would have dogs coming in contact within at least 5 or 10 feet.
Evelyn, you have something?
Yeah, before this was brought to my, thank you for bringing this information. And it also educated me because I know little anything about growing plants. My wife is the one who has the green thumb. And I walk my dog Talika. And before this was brought to my attention, and I would walk down Vista Campana and I would see green plants with white milky substance on them. My first thought was, oh, that's snake spit. Because I grew up as a little kid in Texas, we used to go swimming in ponds and creeks all the time. And you always look for snakes, and you always look for holes in the banks of the river, and you knew a snake was either in the vicinity, or you looked for snake spit. So that's what I thought it was. But however, I was educated recently about that's not the case. That's actually fire stick plants in the family of euphorbias. And you also gave us an article, thank you Kathleen, and the author in the article talked about how, you know, there's many different plants under this family, and how even him as a gardener didn't take precautions in dealing with these plants. He ended up either getting in his eyes or handle it without gloves and develop a rash. But he also stated that, you know, if you're going to work with this type of plant, you should take these precautions like wearing gloves, wearing goggles, wearing long sleeves to prevent or decrease the chance of having any side effects from your body coming in contact with the sap. And also when everybody started walking into the meeting and they put up that list of different plants that are, you know, people use within their garden or within their homes that are also in this family, but are, you know, but are beautiful plants like everyone says. And someone brought up, you know, educating the residents, educating the homeowners about, you know, working with this type of plant. And the question came to me was, you know, would the garden club be willing to provide an educational workshop for the homeowners about the appropriate care and management and handling of the fire stick or any plants within that family? Yes. So I, you know, because like you said, like everyone said, they're beautiful plants, you know, and it's used all around the county of San Diego. But I think if we can ask the garden club or anyone who's willing to put on an educational workshop just specifically for homeowners on how to care, manage, and handle the fire stick, I think that would be very helpful to go along with the article that we can place in the Hilltop Islands about it.
Okay, anybody else have anything to add before we, okay, Kathleen? Oh, Teresa. I think it's Kathleen's turn, we'll come back.
Okay, I have to comment on pets. Okay, we have a rule here. It's called pets must be on a leash, 6 feet, okay? You are responsible for what your dog does when you have your dog outside of your house.
Yes.
It's up to you to train your dog to walk next to you, and it behooves you to keep your dogs out of mulches and other landscape areas. It is not going to be the association's fault if you are not a responsible dog owner.
Yes.
The same thing goes with your grandchildren. If you have grandchildren or young children here, they want to ride their skateboard down the street and land in a pile of fire sticks and lantana and agave. You need to teach them well so that this doesn't happen to them, and we're not going to be responsible for that. So I think the best options I have heard today is let's not do this, let's not become the plant police. We have people like Diane and a few others who are offered to do a workshop. Amy has offered to do an article for the Hilltop Highlights. And I think that's the best thing we can do is educate and educate and educate so that we're not forced into a position where we need to take something out. And then if a homeowner is really stressed out about a particular fire stick or any other toxic plant, of which there's a list up on the wall, then I suggest that they take a picture of that plant and they go to the landscape committee and they work it out with the landscape committee, and the landscape may be able to help them come up with a good solution.
Yes.
Let's leave it up to the homeowners. They know what to do.
Thank you. Lynn, do you have anything else to add? Okay. Kurt, do you have anything else to add?
I apologize that we've spent this long on this subject.
Okay. Lisa, do you?
25 minutes.
Okay. And Teresa had something else she wanted to say.
Teresa?
Well, if the homeowner goes to the landscape committee to request that if they have a poisonous plant, like we've been discussing, or any other plant that talent of genus, that the landscape committee, will they have the ability to approve the removal of that plant? And is that out of their annual budget for plant removal?
They should, yes. I think the biggest thing right now that I'm hearing is that they have to have hazmat suits. They don't want to do it without that. So there's a cost to them to continuously do that. Well, I'm telling you what I'm hearing our landscaper tell us. Okay, let's just go ahead and do the vote. I'll state the motion again. To eliminate fire stick plants from the common areas within, and I'm going to amend it, within 6 feet from homes and sidewalks. I had a second from Teresa. And is anybody in favor of that? Me? Okay, 2. And everybody opposed?
No.
1, 2, 3, 5 opposed. Okay, we move on. I do want to ask though, okay, I do want to ask, I'm being asked for a 10-minute break, which we will do. I would like to ask if, Kathleen, would you take it upon yourself to contact Amy and see if we could get an article for Hilltop Highlights, and perhaps Diane and Amy to do some kind of a workshop, or maybe incorporate it with one of our, our town halls.
And I think Mike has put his blessing on.
Microphone.
I think Mike from the landscape committee has put his blessing on Amy doing an article.
Okay, let's at least go that route.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We'll take a 10-minute break. Okay, we're ready to get going.
Come on down.
Carry on, okay. We're gonna get going. Okay, the next on the agenda, call this meeting to order again, is to create 2 ad hoc committees. This was brought up in the landscaping committee. The realization was there that our plant palette needs to be updated. Certain things that, as we talked about today, need to be considered whether we want to keep them on the plant palette, and some things could be added to it. So it was suggested that we create, they said they didn't have time to do it, so what's her name, Donna Grable, who's a new member in landscape, she said she would head that up. So I'm making a motion to create a ad hoc committee to create and review the plant palette. The purpose of this would be to review the plants currently on the palette. Do they require a lot of water to thrive? Are they dangerous to humans or pets? Are there other plants that should be added to the list? What plants to plant on bare areas of slopes? Do they attract nuisance animals like gophers? So those are the types of things that this committee would look at. If you're interested in being part of it, and it sounded like there were a lot of very interested people today, you can reach out to Donna Grable. Well, first we have to see if we're going to make this ad hoc committee, but then I'll give you her contact information. So I'm making a motion to create the plant palette ad hoc committee with Donna Grable as the chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Great idea.
Okay, how about you, Lynn?
No comment.
Kurt? Any comments? Lisa? Teresa?
No comment.
Okay, so let's take a vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Looks like it's unanimous. Okay. The second on that was to create an ad hoc committee for trees. The purpose of that one, to map out where we currently have established trees, newly planted trees, or even proposed trees. We're looking at getting more trees in the future. To determine which trees belong to the golf course and which ones need to be trimmed or removed by them, and which belong to OCA to be trimmed or removed. Also to review the tree palette to determine if we still want the palette as is or if we want to take some things off or add some things. Some require a little more maintenance than others. And how do they thrive with very little water? Do they require a lot of maintenance? Are they attracting nuisance animals, rats? Do they provide a good habitat for birds? Are they prone to disease? So these are all the things that the ad hoc tree committee would work on that the committee itself felt that they didn't really have time for. We have a couple people already stepping forward on that, went out. So I would like to create, Kathleen, did you offer to be the chair on that? Okay. I'd like to create that tree ad hoc committee with Kathleen Dowling as the chair. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, first and second by Evelyn. And any discussion?
I'll give a little discussion since I'm going to be the chair. Well, we're way behind in our tree trimming, as everybody knows. And we don't have the money to do everything we'd like to do. So our first goal is to review the contract with our current vendor, which is Forestry Group. So we met with Eric Escobar. We've been through 2 units, which took several hours. Basically, right now, we're identifying trees that need to be removed. We hope to have that done by the middle of the month. And then by the 1st of October, identify the trees that need to be trimmed and laced. And then within that context, identify the trees that are a safety risk. And how many of these can we get done for what we have left in our budget, which is $35,000. And then there's going to be a whole lot left over that will come into play as soon as January 1st rolls around and we can have new funding, but we should have the money. For now, we're going to remove, trim, and lace according to the landscape guidelines. There are some. Our second goal is to, again, prioritize what we can do in January 25 with that budget. Do the tree inventory, which is gonna not be easy, is my impression. It's gonna take quite a bit of work, especially so that what we've asked the tree vendor to do is make it so if we have a tree inventory, we know what they're talking about. So when we get an invoice or they give us a map of these are the trees we want to trim, we know what unit and what house they're talking about, so we can double check.
Okay, thank you,
That's the
Kathleen.
idea. One more thing. Time for this ad hoc committee, we hope to be 20 to 30 hours this fiscal year. Next year, 10 to 15 hours each.
Okay. And Lynn, did you have anything to add to the discussion? Okay, Kurt?
I think the idea is good. I like the idea of a committee and overseeing the trees and getting the timeline so that we have a trimmed schedule so that we can anticipate, reroute traffic and not be so, ta-da, tomorrow we're trimming trees. So I think that would be important. I just questioned, can Kathleen, as a board member, sit on a chair of a committee?
That's a good question, and I brought that up. I did sit on a committee, an ad hoc committee last year when we selected the landscape. So I guess it's up to the board. If you feel that she shouldn't be, then she could just participate and somebody else would be the chair.
Well, I mean, she could operate as board liaison if.
Yeah, Exactly.
I'm in complete support of it
Yeah.
and all that Kathleen stands for with it.
Okay,
I'm just questioning whether, as process, if we pass this motion and Kathleen can't be the chair, we should have a plan B in support of this motion.
Evelyn, are you busy looking that up?
Yes, I
I thought you might be. Okay. Okay, so we'll check that out. I did want to, while you're doing that, yeah, go ahead. Lisa?
No, I have no comments.
Teresa, do you have anything?
Yes, I'm just, because there's a dead tree by one of my neighbor's homes. If the committee, as they look at the trees that are dying, if they could at least let the homeowner know when it's on the schedule to be taken care of. So the homeowner doesn't just say, well, the tree's dead and they don't know what's going on with their particular tree.
Okay.
The other comment is, I believe a board member can be a volunteer on a committee. They don't have a vote on the committee because they're on the board, but they can volunteer. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing it up because last board term we had an ad hoc committee just for Measure A and Measure B bylaws, Measure A and Measure B, and we had a couple of board members on that ad hoc committee. And you remember, this is a temporary committee, not a standing committee.
Okay, so you didn't find anything that says
well,
she can or can't? Well, we can, let's make the motion, I'm gonna amend it, make the motion to create the tree ad hoc committee with chair to be decided at the first committee meeting. How's that? And do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Kurt is seconding it. Okay, do you have anything else that you want to add, Evelyn? Okay. No, I think I pretty much said what I wanted to. So, okay, let's take, you want to say anything else? We're going to take the vote. Okay, let's take the vote. All those in favor of forming this ad hoc tree committee with the chair to be determined at the first meeting. I know there are a few people already involved in that. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's a unanimous vote on that. Okay, thank you. I did want to also mention that Donna Grable, who is going to chair that plant palette, her email is jet, with 2 T's, jetstreams, with an S at the end, @gmail.com. So if you want to be part of that, you can reach out to her. If you did not get that email just now, jetstreams@gmail.com. You can ask me or just reach out to me. I have it, okay? And my email is, in the highlights and all over the place. Okay.
Before we move on, I did find it, board members may also serve as committee chairs.
Oh, it does. Okay, thank you.
Committee chair.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
And that's on ad hoc though. Okay, the next on the agenda is another ad hoc committee for speed control. This would be chaired by Sandy Reiser, who brought it to our attention. The motion would be to create an ad hoc committee to work with the city of Oceanside to reduce the speed of traffic on Vista Campana to make it safer for our community. And we would nominate Sandy Reiser to be the chair. Anyway, if you want to, I'll start with the discussion on that one. I just,
We need a second.
oh, second. Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Okay, Evelyn said it first, so Evelyn seconds it. I just want to, this is getting pretty bad, the speeders, and I was out walking, taking some pictures of some things, and a woman came out and talked to me, and just that day, her brand new car got totaled sitting on Vista Campana. We do need to look at, we don't know what that would look like at this point. This is a committee that would research what we could do, okay? So that's all, and then a decision would come back, okay? So, pardon? Yeah, a recommendation, yeah. Okay, so the motion is to create an ad hoc committee to work with the city of Oceanside to reduce the speed of traffic on Vista Campana to make it safer for our committee with Sandy Reiser as the chair. We We have a second, Evelyn. All those, anybody else want to talk about it? Question? Go ahead.
Are we going around the room now?
Yeah, I'm looking this way. Yeah, go ahead. We'll start with you.
The project for the safety of those that are low-sighted, impaired-sighted, or blind, the tactile pavers, the yellow bumpy things as you come to a ramp, that was assigned to somebody in management previously. I'm wondering if that could be put into this motion, since she's already going to be talking to the city, about speed, sidewalks perhaps. That would be a help in terms of safety. If our plan here is to reduce risk, I think that should be included with that ad hoc committee.
Can I address that out of turn? I just want to let you know that Meg Marple, whatever, she has been in touch with Mayor Sanchez to carry that forward, okay? Now, if this motion passes, Sandy could certainly reach out to her. It might be something they would join forces on, but she has been kind of taking that on, and I don't know where she is at with it right at this moment. Okay.
Is that a formal committee? Or is this a conversation that you're having, or have you assigned it to
Well,
her?
it was tasked to management.
Wow.
That was where it was at.
Yeah, that's what I
It
said.
was tasked to
Julie was
management.
doing it,
Yeah.
and
So-
it was to be pursued. She's going to be talking with the city, Sandy is.
Well, I think at this point, let's keep it where the suggested, it might be totally two different areas of the city to talk to, and we can make a separate motion, but I don't want to make a motion
Fair enough.
for Meg until I know that she wants to do it. Okay, so is there any other discussion on this? Lisa, are you okay? Teresa, do you want to say anything? Thank you. Evelyn?
Can she repeat it? Can Teresa repeat it?
Oh, can you please repeat it, because I didn't have the mic at the computer. I was busy doing something else.
Okay, my discussion was to, that Meg continue with her work with management as what was going on prior to the change of management, because that was already set up.
Okay, thank you. Are we ready for a vote here? No? Okay.
Wait. Thank you for tackling this, because I can remember when the first week I was here, one of my neighbors stood in the middle, on the private road, stood in the middle of the road and yelled or screamed at a car passing by because they were speeding. And there's certain, and we have a problem with speeding with residents and visitors, and it's a problem, it terrifies me how fast some people drive down that road. Maybe it's just me because I like to cruise, but thank you for tackling this, because this is a big issue in our community.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
All right, my questions are this. There's no data with it. It came with it, the motion. So I'm wondering, I don't know if Sandy was here last time when we had the city put out the how fast you are going signs. Were you here then? Okay, well, last time we had this type of uproar, concern. People were in touch with the city, I think it was management. And they did come out, the city did come out and put those nice two-way signs that said, this is how fast you're going.
Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, this is how fast you're going, and this is what the speed limit is. And my recollection of it is that was very effective for the time while it lasted. But after a few months, people come and go, and that kind of intervention gets forgotten.
Speed bumps.
There's no timeline here. on how long anybody thinks this would take or how many people you would like to have in this group. I heard Evelyn say other parts of the community also have problems.
Yes, even on the, also on the private roads, they speed on the private roads
Yeah.
too.
They do on our street. I live on F Street, and my husband is putting up his own signs at the risk of getting a ticket from the association. But he had some good ideas, like can you just ride on your own street 10 miles per hour across the street, white paint? So I'm wondering if you would be willing to make this more inclusive of how you could help the entire community. Yes, the city dominates one part of it, but then there's all these other parts that the city doesn't have anything to do with, but there's still good ideas there.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on. If it's okay with everybody, I'd like to take the vote on that, okay? Because we have a computer that's just about out of battery. Okay, so we have a first and a second on that. And all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, how many? Five. Five? Okay, and are you opposed, Kathleen? Any no's? You're a no or an abstain? So Kathleen is voting no, correct? Okay, so Kathleen's voting no, thank you. Okay, now we're going into committee updates. You all had a chance to look at that, so I'd like to make a motion to approve all of the minutes that were turned in by our committees. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
That's it. No more battery.
No more battery, okay.
Is it on
Oh, well.
TV?
Look, that's a good
Okay.
question, but I don't,
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
I need to have that motion
okay,
for the vote on whether or not we're going to
okay.
into our current contract. Let me pull up my exact motion here. The motion that we need to vote on, because it is financial, to add money to the current account of the approved website vendor, Mapleson Media, for the reestablishment of the CRC webpage that was deleted from the oceanaseniors.org. The amount to add to the established contract rate is $65 per hour, not to exceed 3 hours, or $195 of work.
so this thing is for you.
Okay, is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay, I just want to mention that I talked to our webmaster, and I was told that if CRC brings that need directly to Hub and to the webmaster, that would be done at no cost.
We were told by the hub that we'd have to pay for it ourselves. We'd have to get the money from the board to pay for it.
Well, we have two people from the Hub here. Maybe there was a misunderstanding.
Was there an updated vote, because this was from the August meeting, that they obtained the information either in June or July that we would have to ask for more money. So is the hub going ahead and allowing us to have this work done?
You have to submit it to the Hub, but that's what I'm told.
If the hub refused, so I would like to keep the motion that and then maybe add to it, if the hub's gonna just go ahead and have them do it, and we don't have to ask for more money, that's good. But I don't wanna have to go back another month or two to the CRC to get that first webpage back on, because there is a suggestion for a redesign that a member of the CRC committee will work with the hub on it. However, I don't want to miss this opportunity to get it back up there because of everything we're trying to do with it.
Well, why don't we amend, do you want to amend your motion to say, ask for the $65 times three visits if it's not covered by our current hub and their budget?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. we'll take a vote then. All in favor of that? Aye. Okay, that was unanimous. The last one on there was G, the motion to authorize our GM Vaughn to do what he has to get our 2023 taxes back from Newman. So either a completion or removing them and placing them with somebody else. So any second on that?
Second.
Kathleen seconds that. Any discussion? No? Any discussion from that end? Nope. Okay, let's vote then. All in favor? Unanimous vote. Okay. The last one here, first I want to approve all the minutes from the committee meetings and make a motion to approve those minutes. And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay. Kathleen has a comment.
Microphone. Yep.
I just want to say how wonderful I think all these minutes are. They're done very well, and there's a lot of committees and subcommittees. And I would ask, there's a few of them that there's no signature on. I don't know who took the minutes. They don't say. And I would really encourage the person who does the minutes to get the credit for the good writing and put submitted by on there, so we know who wrote it. And if we have a question, we can get back to them. But again, I'm always impressed by the work that everybody is doing. Thank you very much.
Any other comments?
I also want to point out the new volunteers.
We'll get to those.
Okay.
Do we need to mention the volunteers that have resigned and the volunteers that we have to vote on to approve?
Yes, I was going to do that as a separate motion. So anybody else who has discussion on the approval of the minutes from the committees? Okay, then let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Lynn, that was an aye? Okay, yeah. Okay, on the volunteers, we have Brian Young. He's put in his application for Care Committee as well as Finance Committee. Thank you very much, Brian. But the Finance Committee meeting didn't occur. They didn't have a quorum, so I don't have that approval from the Finance Committee. They do say that. I reviewed them. Yeah, it did say that in the Care Committee, Brian Young was. And Diane Danner in Hub, it does not state a motion to approve that also. It just mentions that she was visiting, and I think she's turned in her paperwork. That's what it says in the minutes. It's in there?
I'm pretty certain that it's in there. We did make a motion.
Well, we can look again. We do not see it.
It's contingent on approval by the committees, and then the committees, if they've already put it in the minutes, it's there, and if they haven't, then do it this month.
I did that once before, and somebody told me I had to rescind it.
Back.
Okay, the Hub is on 71. Oh, that's not, those are the volunteer applications, 61. Okay, thank you. We would be happy to look at these, if you...
It says right here, Gail requested that both fill out the volunteer form, which needs to be approved by the board.
That's in the July minutes. Do we have the August minutes? Because that's when they were going to vote on it.
No, we only have the July. Okay.
Roxanne, I sent you the August minutes as I sent them to Kathleen. I sent them 2 days after.
The August?
Yes.
Okay,
of course.
all right.
Yes.
They didn't get in here, sorry. Okay, so, all right, then, we will verify that. They are in the office somewhere, the August minutes. So, As far as I know, though, the finance committee did not meet, so,
We didn't have a vote on that.
yeah. Okay. So do I have a, let's make a motion to approve the volunteers for Care Hub Landscape Committee, Brian Young, Diane Danner, and Peter Cornog. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
And any discussion? Okay, then let's have the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we have reached the questions from the attendees. Anybody want?
Could you say something about the recording will be on YouTube, but that's the only way?
Okay, for those of you, I don't know if you'll be able to watch it, but the recording will be on YouTube. The computer ran out of power because the meeting went a little longer than we normally do. We had a lot of homeowner comments. So you can watch the tail end of it on YouTube, and I apologize for that. We will have it better next month. Okay, so questions from attendees. You can just raise your hand on this. Okay. Sandy Reiser.
Can we supply Sandy with a microphone?
One right
There.
there. Not that she needs it.
I never actually need one, but yeah. Sandy Reiser, Unit 3, House 41. Sorry, I have several. The first thing I want to say is thank you to the board for continuing to send the public documents, legal documents out to us that are filed with the court. There was a mention earlier that what was the word that was used? Disclosing information that was private. That's not true. The only thing you submit are the things that are submitted to the court that anybody can look up on the court's website, anybody. So please don't stop doing that because it helps homeowners understand where we are. You may not like what it says, but that doesn't make it wrong. So kudos to the board for continuing that information. So thank you for that. I have a question on the committee reports, why the ad hoc water remediation, the ad hoc IT, and the ad hoc common area mods are still on hold.
I can address one of those, or two of those. The ad hoc water, we were waiting for the new manager to come so that he could be included with the new contractor, landscape contractor. So everybody could be on the same page so we can move forward. Was there tech on there too?
The IT?
Yeah, same thing. And so we're in the process right now of getting August ported over. And then we have had an overview of our current contracts, one of which has been killed off, which isn't a current contract, one that was being proposed for fiber in the street, killed off. It has a $100,000 cost, not free. So that was dropped. Other than that, we're still waiting for all to come together after the data's ported.
For Cox and all of that, right?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
And for the common area modifications?
Okay, I guess I can talk about that. At this time, this board is not in favor of the common area modifications. I feel strongly that it's not, we need to continue on with it, but we have a lot of things on our plate right now with the transition. So right at this point, we don't have an ad hoc committee basically together to do that, to go forward with that, decide what we're going to do.
You disbanded that committee?
There just isn't any committee. There's nobody working it.
Okay, so the three of you were on it last term. So my question is, does that committee still exist?
No, it does not.
So you made a motion to disband that committee? Because that would have to happen in the general session. I do not believe that's happened.
No, there was no motion made. It's just hasn't been picked back up.
Okay, so can I ask that you put it on the next agenda so that it's official paperwork?
Yep.
Thanks. Okay, sorry, I have more. I wanted to talk about the CRC, the hub. Is it okay, Gail, if I talk about the website here?
Please.
And Mapleson Media. So I want to be really clear. Mapleson Media is still doing the website work, and they will be until the new person takes over, which will probably be next year, for many reasons. One is we really need to understand what Keystone has. We're going to start the work in October in earnest, and I'm the website coordinator, which is why I'm talking about that. So there shouldn't be any question about that. So if something comes through the hub, it's website, I take care of it with Bill, okay? So that's where that is specifically. As far as what the CRC wants, their page is on the website. It wasn't there the other day. I remember Roxanne, you and I were talking about it, and for some reason it wasn't there, but I looked at it as we were sitting here, and it is there. And so all redos on the whole website are going to go under that master project that you created the funding for. So I'm not quite sure what this is, but everybody's committee, everything is going to get looked at as we go to the new website. So I think maybe there's a little confusion there with the CRC. So maybe Teresa, you could reach out to me and Gail, and we could talk about that for a minute.
Okay, we do have what the look we wanted, and we were first originally working with Karen when she was involved with this, and we were trying to get together to go over her suggestions for the new design. And we discovered a few months back that our initial page was down. I will go back and move it, and in the sense of presenting it to, we probably need to get on hub agenda. Is that, or do you want to go through the format of the hub and asking that that this page be redesigned, and we can send the pages through email to the hub like anybody wants to be.
So if everybody understands, every page on the website is going to be redesigned, okay? Every page. So it's one project. And
So that in January, well, in terms of presenting what we'd like to have on that first page, would you like us to present it to the hub so it can be part of the January revamp?
well, I can meet with you guys and go through what you want, and then I can talk to the webmaster and see if it's feasible. So that probably, are you okay with that, Gail? That's probably the best way to do that. So Teresa, reach out to me.
You hear that, Teresa?
Yeah, or Chris is the temporary chair of the CRC, so unless you object, I would like to have Chris be able to reach out
Sure.
to the hub with as representing the committee with the design.
Okay.
Or is it something that you need the board member liaison, which is me to do?
No. Chris can do it. That's fine.
Okay.
It's my understanding at that meeting, Chris did have what she put together as a straw man as to what they'd like to have and how she had the vision of how she'd like to have it, and that yet has not been relayed, I don't think, to the hub. So yeah, Chris is your point person for the vision.
Okay, just have her reach out to me and I'll get together with her, and then we'll include that as part of the big overhaul, because that's one giant project.
I think you're right on.
Okay. On the ad hoc committee for the reductionist fee, I did provide backup, which hopefully was in your packet. And I did provide backup of why I created a report, I sent it in, I got acknowledgement of receipt. Do you not have it? Okay. Anybody know why it didn't get in? My motions got in, so I'm not quite sure. They were on the top of the document. So this is something that's really important, because I know Ellen submitted some documentation as well, so you need to make sure that gets in the packet. Because I provided the reasoning for creating the ad hoc, so you said you didn't have any data. I'm like, wait, there is data. Okay, so for some reason it didn't get the backup, but it was submitted. That's how this whole thing came to be. So Roxanne had asked me to write up something, and I did. So
Thank you for writing it up. Thank you for submitting it. It's our bad that it didn't make it in.
yeah, it's just I think there were several things that were missing. So
Yes.
okay.
I think we're going to get our agenda dialed in in the next 60 days.
Yeah, for sure. And Roxanne, I just want to clarify what you said. The slopes, I'm sorry, this feedback seems to be on my microphone, but I'm not quite sure where. The slopes, you said that there was a diagram within TLC's contract that did not have that slope involved?
Well,
When I looked at it, I saw he had yellow highlights pretty much on the slopes that would be coming off of homes, okay? And then there was a couple places on the perimeter along Vista Campana. I didn't see the whole of that slope included in it.
Okay, because this is a very specific question we asked during the contract negotiations with them, and asked if all slopes on our property were included as part of the maintenance contract, and the answer was yes. So I, at no extra charge. I mean, this was one of the major reasons that we did this, and I think Roxanne, I sent you what I had on that. So I don't know how feasible it is, but it was my understanding that is exactly what's going to happen, because this was the problem we got into before. We kept having to write checks for slopes, and it was like, no, we could incorporate it into one thing. So.
Okay, well, I'll go back to him and, clarify that, or tell him what we thought we were going to get. What do you have?
There was,
It's on.
okay, there was a contract that Teresa put in our packets for the other day. And it did have the yellow, it wasn't color, and it did have the yellow line, and it did have the yellow line that you're talking about. The only difference was it was a thin yellow line along that edge of where Vista Bella comes down to the dog park, as being the outer perimeter. So there is a yellow line there.
It includes it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything written that says that, but.
Well, I think, Rex, I sent you some things that I had where we had asked this specific question, because this was a huge concern last year, was are those slopes that we continue to write checks for included?
I think the challenge comes between what is specifically spelled out in the contract and what was in the conversation, because it's not specific in the contract. It says slopes, but it doesn't address specifically the hill, and at this point, with us being into August, since we have paid for it in the past, since we did, despite what was going to be in the contract, we did put it in the budget to clear the hill. We should move forward with that for this year and then be more specific for next year. It's just my view.
Yeah, I just hated to see you spend money that was assumed to be part of that, and this line that you're talking about would assume that as well.
Wait, oh,
Is it my teeth?
okay. Going back to your question
Are we
about,
going around the room?
Oh, come on.
Do you want to?
It's just,
Yeah.
Okay,
Went
all right.
around that. I thought we'd
we'll
come to
let
this
Chris
corner over here
okay,
next.
Go in the circle, then you'll have your turn.
Yeah, this has been bounced around. I was under the understanding, I remember being at that meeting, and the discussion was that there was not a specific agreement, that there was understanding that the slope was going to be included. And Roxanne updated, based on your communications, that Bob was going to go ahead and take care of it. He was going to go up there and he was going to cut down the wild artichokes and do whatever was necessary, and he wasn't going to charge us. And then the motion came through with this dollar amount on it, and so here we are. We've gone full circle, but I would like to see all the documentation that you have. I have not seen it, unless Roxanne has given it to us. Have we seen it, Roxanne?
I'll have to pull it back up and look at it.
Okay.
And I'll get it out to everybody.
It would probably be good for us to have all the same information.
Yeah, as far as what Bob said he would do, a lot of times he speaks, and then we don't get it in writing. Until we see something in writing, I don't count on something Bob says.
And here we are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
That's all.
We have in the motion up to 6,500. We'll review, talk to him. Yes, he did say he could do a portion of that in the top part.
The
So-
motion is that it's up to
Yeah.
within that budget.
Microphone.
And my viewpoint is that, what was I going to say?
Evelyn is next, and Teresa.
okay.
Sorry.
Actually, I wanted to change subjects. I'll go back to the Vista Campana traffic speed reduction ad hoc committee. You did present backup information, and I have it right here, and it is in the packet. I think what Kathleen needs, she requires additional information, because you did put that.
So this was the backup to why the ad hoc should be created.
Right.
Zero work has been done since then.
Right.
There's no report, there's no anything. It's like,
Right.
here's why we think it should be done. So
Yeah.
that was included in your packet?
No, that is in the packet.
Okay,
I
great.
think with Kathleen, if I'm clarifying, let me know if I'm wrong, that you need additional information. Yeah, but I want people to know that you did present it and it was put in the packet.
So additional information to create an ad hoc? I guess I'm confused by that.
Because she said that she didn't I don't know if she knew that this was the backup material that you submitted to, as a reason to create the ad hoc committee, and you did present it, and it was placed in the pack. I was just
Yeah,
clarifying that.
So the initiative was in the pack, and now Sandy will go forward and she'll have a recommendation after talking to.
Correct. That was the whole point, was to create it and then do the work. Okay, that was it. Thanks.
Okay, and I believe Ellen had something she wanted to talk to us about.
Hi, I'm Ellen Marcial. I live in Unit 7. I'm going to talk about a couple of things, and Vaughn, I'm going to be looking at you for this. I'm very sensitive to how we appear to our community, both live and on the Zoom, and then ultimately on the video. So, you know, and Vaughn's brand new, so somebody should have checked the computer before you started, so there wasn't a mad dash, and then it ultimately failed. And I know it's a new computer, but nobody checked it. Nobody had the flag set up. I set up the flag. The pickleball court was on the stage, which shows from the video. I put the pickleball court behind the curtain because I'm sensitive to how we look. There was a mad dash, I know, this morning for power cords. Somehow facilities couldn't find the power cords. And Vaughn, you should be sitting over here next to Lynn, because where you sit is where Teresa would normally sit. So you should sit here, and then your new facilities manager will sit next to you. Again, you guys should have told him that, just to be consistent. I also want to talk about the agendas, again, because of how it looks. So I put my name on the list to receive the agenda packets ahead of time, and I received it ahead of time, I think last Friday, which was very nice. Thank you, Vaughn, for getting that out so quickly. It was only 18 pages, the same 18 pages that you have here. Where's the rest of the packet? Where's all the committee minutes? My report that I really felt pretty strongly about, the 503 Vista Bella, not related to the historical ordinance thing, but just an update report. I felt very strongly that we needed to inform the community about what's going on. Well, nobody saw it. You didn't give me an opportunity to report on it. You didn't distribute it. So that's unfortunate. Although I know your contention, or at least it was at the last meeting, and I guess it was in June, that Davis Sterling says that you don't have to, or that you, I think somebody said that Davis Sterling says you cannot provide the backup to the general public, to the general community. I'm going to call you on that. I don't think it does. I think it's Davis Sterling says you don't have to, you're not required to. It doesn't say you can't. So why in the world would you not? What are you hiding? Clearly you're hiding something. If you're making a decision not to distribute the backup agenda on an open session meeting, you're making the decision not to include it not to include the general public on that. Why not? What are you hiding? I assume you're not. I'm still going to assume that your intentions are good. I think you were misguided by management at First Service, but now Keystone is here, and I'm not going to throw this on you, Vaughn. This is just on you guys. Eventually, Vaughn, I'll throw it on you, but for now, this is just on you. You all ran either the last agenda, the last election, the one before that, on a platform of transparency. Every single one of you did. And now what are you doing? Hiding half the agenda, more than half the agenda. I think your packet is what, 70 pages long? And we only got, I don't even know, maybe it's longer than that. We only got 18 pages. General sessions are your opportunity to show everyone what you're doing, both in person and again, visually, how the room looks, how the microphones work, how the technology works. You need to do better. This is your opportunity. Those of you, if you ever want to run again, you probably won't, but those of you who may want to run again, you want this opportunity to show the community what you're doing. And it just looks terrible. The room looks terrible, the technology's terrible, the agenda packets, you're not including the information you should be. I purposely didn't bring this up at the beginning of the meeting because it was very, very toxic. The environment was not good, and I'm embarrassed by this. This is why I joined the Hub way back when I first moved here, because I was embarrassed by the quality of the emails that were being put out by the office. Scott, at the time, the general manager, you know, English was not his strong suit. And so I did those email blasts in the very beginning when I first joined the Hub because I was embarrassed by how ridiculous those emails were. And so I didn't make I didn't want to make this discussion public when there were so many people here, and I'm glad there's only a few, and all the people watching who will be watching it later. We can do better. We can do better. You're a better board than this. And so don't do this anymore. Give us the entire packet, unless there's something you're hiding. Please do better. Thank you.
On the board packets, because I want to read directly from David Sterling. I'm just reading directly from it, okay? It is common practice for board packets to be distributed to directors prior to their meetings. They are normally prepared by management and contain the agenda for the meeting, backup materials for agenda items, draft minutes of prior meetings that need approval, a monthly financial report including delinquencies, member correspondence, etc. Inspection during meetings. Members who attend board meetings sometimes request a copy of the board packet so they can follow along during the meeting. The Open Meeting Act gives owners the right to attend open meetings and a copy of the meeting agenda, but not a copy of the board packets. A board packet is not a record, nor is it subject to inspection under the Davis Sterling Act. It is instead a collection of records that frequently contain confidential materials such as delinquency, member correspondence, etc. I'm just reading directly from Davis Sterling.
Right, it says you don't have to. You're not required to provide it to the general public. You're not required to. It doesn't say you can't. It doesn't say you can't.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Please.
So your packet went up to what page?
18.
Okay, so what was missing?
The financial report was the last thing.
I can't hear you.
The financial report was the last thing.
Ellen brings
Okay.
up a good point in terms
Wait,
of
wait, wait.
supporting.
Okay,
Oh, okay,
okay.
I thought you were finished.
No.
I apologize.
So what I hear you saying is you didn't get your hub committee or your committee meetings in there. There weren't any for you, anybody to look at.
No.
Right. I was most interested in the 503 Vista Bella Ad Hoc Committee, and I thought, like, Evelyn just read it at the last meeting, and then Evelyn asked me if I would read it at this meeting, but you never called on me to read it, so I didn't read it.
Yeah.
I never said I didn't want to. I was all ready.
Yeah, I think it's a
My
discussion.
apology. Okay, I mistook what you said, that you wanted me to just do the motion.
No, I didn't want to talk about anything regarding the historical ordinance,
Okay,
but I had that 2-page report that I would have liked to share with the community.
that's on me, I apologize.
Okay.
What I want to say is there's so much information in the committee updates. And it's so important. And it's really helpful. And personally, I don't see any reason why this can't be shared with everybody. Maybe this isn't the right format.
Speak into the microphone.
Maybe this wasn't the right format to do it. Because I think before we would print out these packets, and then it became like, oh my gosh, this is so much money. But if now we're going back to, well, sure, you can call ahead, you can get your packet, and it's up to you if you want to print it out or look at it. I mean, maybe there is stuff in there, I don't know, Lynn would have to answer financially, but committee updates are very important for everybody to hear and be able to read if they want to. And this is something that the board is going to read, but they're not going to want to report on every single one.
Right.
I have an idea for that, and one idea would be that could we have, looks like we have 13 committees here or some function part of a committee. Maybe we could have 3 or 4 people come from each, 3 or 4 committees come every session and give a 5 or a 10-minute speech to the rest of the group about what the wonderful things
I don't know if
they're
you
doing.
need that, but I would just like the opportunity to see it, either ahead of time, preferably on.
Maybe there's a way to put these in a notebook, just specific to committees in the library. I don't know, but I think this is information. There's nothing to be hidden here in committees.
I agree.
Thanks.
You wanted to speak? Go ahead.
The only.
Lynn wanted to say
I don't know, is this on? Are you hearing me?
No.
Not on.
Yeah, it is.
Here we go. The only potentially confidential information would be on delinquencies, which Charlie has already addressed, and we need to make sure that those aren't in this packet. Other than that, we discussed it at the June meeting, that there wasn't anything in here that was confidential, therefore it fell under that, could certainly include it. At that time, we said, and it's on page 5, item 14 of our board packet, I don't know if it's in everybody else's, that if there was still a question, we would send the June packet to legal counsel to ensure that we are not violating Davis Sterling by sending out that packet. Either we decided we didn't need to do that or we just didn't do that, but I think that we should continue to include the entire thing. A previous board did include that in the procedures that were developed by that board and adopted, that it would go out barring any non-confidential information. I recall that happening. If I need to pull out those procedures with the date on them for us to follow them, I will, but I think that we're all aware they're there and we should go back to following them.
Just my.
We have not had an accurate agenda the entire time we've been on the board. Not one. Not even close.
Well, then you need to fix that.
And the process was broken with First Service. That's not an excuse. I'm just saying the process was broken. There was no process. What Charlie recommended is good. I recommended that we have more than one eye on this set of documents, that there be multiple people auditing this. Would you like to be part of that group?
Sure. Point of information, or point of order, that's not the question. The question on the table is whether or not these packets should be provided to the homeowners.
Yes. Our legal counsel indicated that we could not include very specific elements into the agenda. And when we took things away, and I don't know under what criteria things were removed from the board packet to the agenda that was arrived at today. I have no idea what you guys see or what we see that you don't see. This is illuminating to me. And yeah, you should have had all that back up. So if we do need to get an attorney involved, we should. My guess is that Vaughn's going to have a process and a system that's going to be somewhat bulletproof, we're hoping. And I'd like to include you in that because you do have eyes for detail. We want it to look good. We're doing a movie and we're also running a $500 million corporation here. We just happen to be doing it without getting paid.
Does anybody else want to talk about this?
I have something to say, I'm
Yes.
sorry. I thought comments by the owners to the board at this second time were just comments. You have a whole nother meeting going on here.
No, they're responded to.
Okay, so Anita Romaine from Unit 14. Been on the I have been on the website, been on the Zoom committee here, party of 2. And I hate to say bad things and things that are negative, but today was a disaster. Last month, June was a disaster. July was a disaster. No, June. And it just is not feeling that you guys are involved. I'm just so sorry to have, we have nothing online anymore. We have nothing on TV because the camera goes to TV. So Lee and I have decided that there'll be no more TV streaming. Unless we get a whole bunch of people that say, yes, we miss it. That's an extra part that Lee has to put up with. Right now, we have only the recording,
3 ways,
3 ways.
as it is, without the TV. And that is you come here and see it, okay, you watch it on Zoom, or you watch it after the fact on YouTube or
That's
our
right.
feed.
There are 3
So
ways
why
to
do we
do
need a
this.
4th and all that stress and things that go with it
Right.
for the
So,
7
I think
people that
that's
may
pretty
watch it?
reasonable.
Right now, we have Lee putting it on YouTube, because he's recording it on the camera. Nobody can see it right now. All 16 people that were online don't have a choice to see this meeting. I think we should just stop everything Zoom and just have everybody here and put it on YouTube. That way we may get 16 more people. This is not acceptable if we're going to do our job. I'm about ready to quit, and Lee says if I go, he'll go. Get a computer specifically for this, with Zoom installed, with OCA, YouTube, and Zoom account. This is not, I would love to project it, but I don't know about that. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, we need to do better. I've been on the board a couple of years and I know how stressful it is. That's why I'm not on the board anymore. I don't know how I could have handled it then, but I did. Please do better.
Thank you, Anita. Are there any other questions from homeowners? Okay. Where are we? Okay, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
It's at 12:50. And all in favor? Aye.
Oh.
Is it over?
Yeah.